Press and the Down Beach Current were notified of this special meeting. A copy of same was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Would you please stand for the flag salute? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Ms. Taube?
Here.
You want to do that now?
Whatever your normal agenda is.
Well, we're on the ordinance, so
Okay.
you want to do the amendment before we?
Yeah.
All right. We are proposing today's second reading of the ordinance 1 of 2013, and there is going to be an amendment proposed at the beginning. Mr. Scott will tell it, Mr. Abbott will tell us about that.
Thank you, Mayor. We're dealing with ordinance number 1 of 2013, which is an ordinance trying to deal with some of the effects of the new flood regulations and FEMA and these advisory maps. And I think we could call this the Peter Weiss Amendment, where the finished floor elevation, Peter has made a suggestion to tweak this definition so as to specify that the finished floor elevation is 1 foot above ABFE, that's advisory base flood elevation, under 1988 datum for A zones, and 2 feet above ABFE for V zones per FEMA advisory base flood elevation map. Now, most of you are going to scratch your heads and say, what does that mean?
For those of you who have a copy of the ordinance, it would be at the top of page 4.
I think it's fair to say that this minor amendment to the definition of the finished floor elevation is it's a minor amendment that is allowed to be done in law so that this ordinance can still go forward tonight. And I think our construction official, you're fine with this? Yes. You feel this is really just reaffirms, and our engineer, you guys feel this just basically reaffirms that which we understand, and our zoning officer, you're fine with it too?
Yes.
So with that being said, Mayor, that very minor amendment in the definition of finished floor elevation hopefully will be of assistance to people trying to interpret this and move forward with their building plans.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Okay. So it's not working.
do we take a motion now and then do public participation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom, what are we going to do here? Motion, right?
Do we have
Yeah,
to,
you need a motion to open it up to the public.
do we have to make a motion for the?
Scott, I would suggest that they open it up first and then, or you want to do the...
Comment first or make a motion to amend the ordinance?
Well, your call, but because you're amending it, you might want to hear from the public first. is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
let's hear from the public first.
Yeah. So make a motion to open up the public.
All right. I will make that motion that the floor be opened up to the public for comment.
Should we call Mr. Weiss? Do you feel that would be appropriate?
Sure. You want to second
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'll second that.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
it?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Weiss, would you like to speak about this? I got you, didn't I? Peter?
You did.
Okay.
The intent of this, one of the intents of this ordinance was to allow people to keep, one of the intents of this ordinance was allow people to maintain the allowable heights of their buildings. And the ordinance that was proposed worked fine for the A zone, but the reality is in a V zone, you've got to build at least a foot higher, because that's just required by the building code, and I guess FEMA too. So it just made sense to me to be able to amend the ordinance to allow the extra foot in the V zone, because now there's a substantial portion of the city that's in a V zone, so it's going to affect a lot of people. And I just think it's the right thing to do.
Peter, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Sure.
And thank you for bringing that to our attention, Peter. Is there any public comment here? This is just for the amendment.
Just a minute.
I move that public comment on the amendment be closed.
Yes, Steve wanted to say
Uh,
something.
Sorry, Steve, I didn't.
I don't know if this is exactly the on the amendment, but it's a question regarding the heights and flood elevation and all. Could I ask, maybe someone could
We'll
elucidate
get to
me?
that later.
Oh, there'll be another opportunity?
There'll be another
Okay.
opportunity for public comment. I move public comment be closed.
I'll second that.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Talby?
Yes.
Make the motion.
Yes. Make a motion. Yeah, public comment for the second.
Okay. We'll now open for public comment for the second reading of Ordinance 1 of 2013. If you'd like to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, please.
My name is Helene Cohen. I bought a property. The first time I lived in it was in the summer of 2011. I'm at 20 North Granville Avenue. I mean, this is like, getting personal here, but I bought this property. I completely renovated it and fixed it up to live in. Had only been there a year, and my property is like basically destroyed. I can't even live in it now. I just came up from Philadelphia to be at this meeting. I don't know, when you're talking about this A, this B, I don't even really know what you're talking about. I just know my street it floods terribly. And why I came to this meeting is I wanted to know if FEMA is going to assist us in building up these houses, because right now I was just going to pay a contractor who was supposed to start this week, and we held him off to shore up my house underneath, because my house has sunken so much from the storm, and it's like cockeyed now, that he was just going to level it under the house, and now I don't want to pay to have that done if I'm going to have to raise it, which I really can't afford to do that. So, I just want to know what's happening here.
Okay. Okay. Mrs. Cohen, that's Mr. Galantino. He's our construction official. If you give him your telephone number, he'll be able to tell you what's going on and give you any information you might need. Okay? Jimmy, would you get that after the meeting? Okay? Anyone else?
This is a public comment portion, I guess.
Yes, just give your name and address, sir.
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner Avenue.
Thank you.
All right, I'm doing a job in Ocean City, around 8th Street and the Bay Avenue. The house is low. It's like, in any case, it was a very bad flood, and the guy, the whole downstairs was flooded, and it comes to find out that he's 5 feet above mean low water, okay? And he just received a letter this week from FEMA that unless he raises his house to like 7 more feet, then his flood insurance is going to be $28,000 a year. Have you heard anything like this, or can you add anything to that? Yeah.
Yes, of course we've heard about it.
And that's like, people are going to be billed like $28,000 a year from FEMA for flood insurance, possibly, if they're that
Steve, I can
low?
only tell you what they told me, and they said you could be up to 20,000. My house is at elevation 11.
Right.
Then I've heard the figure 2,000, and most recently when Jimmy and Ed and I went to the seminar in Longport 2 days ago, they said it's difficult to estimate. They know there'll be a substantial increase.
Right.
The advisory maps are not final, so your increases won't occur because of the advisory maps. Well, once they're finalized, probably 2 years from now,
Right.
then your insurance will be based on those elevation requirements. And you are looking at very substantial increases.
And
Especially
Scott-
if you're very low.
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
and that's why we're fighting the authenticity of these maps, because it's such a huge effect on our city. I mean, it'll affect our values, our ratables, our budget's not going to go down,
Right.
I just think it really could be catastrophic. I like what Sonny McCullough said in the paper a couple days ago about the financial ramifications from this far outweigh even the damage of Hurricane Sandy. So I've been attending meetings. I know Scott and Ed, everybody is, and we're doing everything in our power that we can to,
Right.
to get together with our state and federal officials to, to say, hey, this is going to,
Well, people
bankrupt us and our
couldn't
residents.
afford that. I mean, they had no option except to raise the house, and you're talking probably $50,000, $60,000 to raise a house, if it's possible.
If I could just jump in for a second. What's happening is, as a result of the law that was passed, the Bigger Waters Act that was passed in July of last year, everyone will have to pay what FEMA calls their actual risk, the value of their actual risk. Starting January 1st of 2013, they started, it was on secondary homeowners, vacation homeowners. So they're the first ones to see it. And then ultimately, even if these maps don't pass, the rates will then rise based on the old maps. Now, anyone that's not in compliance with the old maps will definitely, their rates will be up. Even people that are in compliance with the old maps, their rates are going to go up significantly. So that's the importance of why we've been fighting
Right.
on two fronts, the maps and the actual insurance rates that are coming down the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's like an irony that I don't know too many people who have gotten any money from FEMA, except people that didn't pay, okay? So the people that didn't pay got the money. Now the people that did pay, they've got no money, and their rates are going up. So,
The other piece of this is that everyone should be aware, this has nothing to do with the storm, with Sandy. This
Right.
was all on its way to us before Sandy. It's just the hurricane brought it out in the open right away.
right.
So-
Perfect.
Steve, there are implications from all of this that will take years to really come forth. Ratables are one. People's ability to afford to live here. Actually, there's an article in today's Star Ledger that most of you probably should read. It's basically saying that the middle class will be moved out of the Jersey Shore if this continues. We're fighting as best we can. We've got a couple committees. We've, allied with other communities. There's just probably more questions remaining than there are answers, and that's the frustrating part of this.
I know you guys are trying to do the best you can, but it's just that, government, it's like a government takeover or attempted government takeover. So maybe we have to do even more, possibly.
Be assured that this local government is fighting as hard as they can. We've been out front of this from day one. We will continue to fight for the people, and that we'll keep you aware of what's going on as it happens.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Charles O'Neill, 26 South Jefferson Avenue, Margate. Quick question. I'd heard that FEMA can't raise your flood insurance can only be raised 10% a year. Is there a cap? No?
They've changed, the new law changed that to 25% a year.
25? It was 10?
It was 10, it's changed now to 25% a year. And I would suggest that if you have access, go on Google the Bigger Waters Act, read it. There's a lot of information in there that doesn't help us, but it's coming like a train, and they could do it at least 25% a year. And if you let your insurance lapse and then you reapply, it comes full bore.
Right. I knew about that.
But
And if you're a new owner, you don't qualify either. It goes up immediately. But I thought existing owners, now it can go up 25% a year?
yes,
Okay, what are you saying go on? I went on the FEMA website and I got my elevation off of FEMA. They're saying I'm at 12 feet, which I don't think is correct.
That's under the new standard.
that's under the new maps.
No, they're saying my house is at, on the FEMA website,
They're saying that's where you have to be.
that's where I have to be. They're not giving me the actual height of my house.
No.
Okay, so now it can go up 25% a year. Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tony Giacobini, 112 North Vendome Avenue in Margate. I'm concerned about everything that's going on from different standpoints. Number
Talk a
one,
little
we have
louder,
a lot of
Can't
seniors.
hear.
Hold the mic towards you.
They're talking about you.
Okay. We have a lot of seniors in town. Now, when the flood insurance does go up, It's going to stop anybody from getting a reverse mortgage because your reverse mortgage is going to be gobbled up by your flood insurance premiums. So now we're telling the seniors, leave your town. You can't finish out your years here. We can't have you here because of the federal government. Our business district, maybe 5 to 10% of our businesses are in actual houses. Everything else is in a cinder block building. How do you raise them? You can't. So we're telling all of our businesses along the coastline, I'm not just saying Margate, clear across the coastline, Maryland, clear up to New York. Get out of town. You can't run a business anymore because now, between your health insurance, your taxes going up, and now your flood insurance is going to be ridiculous to the point where you can't operate a business anymore. Then we have all of our summer people that have been here for generations, 2, 3, 4 generations, that are no longer going to be able to come to the shore because it's going to cost more than a rental used to cost, because our rentals are going to go up drastically based on the fact that your flood insurance is now going to cost this much. But you're going to tell the middle class, don't even come to the shore. We don't want you. Unless you're ultimately wealthy, don't bother coming here. We don't want you. And then the last thing is that it's just not fair. Is this going to be the same thing clear across the country as everybody in the country? You have Tornado Alley, you have the floods in Florida, you have the Gulf Coast. Were they ever hit with these kind of astronomical numbers? Are they going to be hit with these numbers too? The same, you hear on the Neshaminy Creek, every time there's a storm, you hear Neshaminy Creek is overflowing. Or is everybody going to get hit with the same numbers?
Everyone that has flood insurance is going to see a significant rise, no matter where they are in the country. I just read an article online about Louisiana, a town in Louisiana that's going through the same thing we are. They're devastated by it. They see it coming. They don't know what they're going to do. So the only thing that you can do is petition your federal legislators.
And whenever you need the people to petition whatever, please get to us. We'll be only too glad to write letters, do what we have to do, because this is ridiculous. We're all going to be priced out of our houses.
Yeah, we have to team up and work together and fight it so that.
We have to do whatever we can to save these towns clear across the coast.
Let me make a comment. You know, Tony and I've been on top of this. And everything you say is true, but there are some silver linings. It's not all bad. For instance, even though the governor pushed through this mandatory executive order, the maps themselves are advisory. We have been meeting with some of the smartest people around concerning maps and flood maps. We are told that the maps have deficiencies. They didn't take into account for our barrier island of Margate, bulkheads and seawalls. There's a possibility, and we hope that they'll be reasonable, that the V zone will be reduced in coverage and size. We're optimistic about that. Why? Because it really doesn't apply. We think there's a mistake. There are other options regarding flood insurance. When other states have dealt with this before, this wheel's already been invented. One of the options brought up by the mayor of Longport, and it's been being kicked around, shouldn't there be larger deductibles? So instead of paying an enormous flood insurance premium every year, you just have a much larger deductible.
And that would make more sense.
It would make more sense.
But they don't work
I gotta
on sense.
think that in the long run, cooler heads will prevail. And so for senior citizens and people today to hit the panic button, now's not the time to panic.
No.
It's going to work out. I think we have smart people around to help us. Even the governor, you know, and at first when I saw his executive order, I thought, boy, why did he do this? But then I've looked at those photos on the beaches further north and the towns that are wiped out further north. He was in a tough position. I don't agree that it applies to us, but I think even the governor might see that maybe there should be some revisions to that executive order. So it's not all bad or hopeless.
No, I think most of it, his decision to go ahead and say
had
this
to do
was
something.
to get the North started.
In
Get the
defense of him,
towns
he
north
had
of us
to do
started.
something, and he did that, which is very applicable to up in Monmouth and Ocean County. I'm sure it
Yes.
is. But it really doesn't apply to us.
And I know Margate has been proactive since day one.
Well, that's what
to
this
try and
ordinance
stay
is
on
all
top
about.
of
If you
everything. Mm-hmm.
want to raise your home, that's what the ordinance under discussion, consideration right now.
Yes.
If you want to raise your property, you can do it without having to go through a lengthy and expensive process of getting zoning approval or variances. This is so you can raise your house if you want to do it. That's what this is all about.
Right. But even in the maps, the A zone, in the A zone, you have houses that didn't take on a speck of water, you have houses that took on 3-4 feet of water. So to
Very
lump
true.
everybody together just doesn't make sense.
Well, there are computer programs, they're spending millions of dollars, we have been told, with consultants to create these flood maps. They are far from perfect. We hope to have our own input with local engineering knowledge so as to have those maps revised to help out our situation.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Loretta Greenwood, I would just like to know, do we have the map for Margate here in this room today that anyone can look at of our elevations and our zone, what zone we're in and so forth?
We don't have it here.
We have, on the table over here, is the FEMA website link that will
Okay, so
tell
you
you
have to go to
exactly where your
computer.
house
Okay,
is.
so we don't have it here. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, will we in Margate be looking to put more dunes? To plant more dunes along? No? Or that's not coming up now? I'm not thinking about that.
Dunes are a very popular thing right now, Loretta. It'll be a while before, but the governor is pushing for dunes. We'll see where that goes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just for your knowledge, folks, because, you know, I feel for you, I really do, and we're all in the same boat. I attended a FEMA meeting 2 weeks ago, and the head lady who was there representing FEMA said to me, person to person, do not adopt these maps. They're temporary maps. The maps will change, and they will change probably as early as the fall. So we do have some hope. We're working hard. We're trying to, you know, get some changes made that will be beneficial to Margate. And we'll see where it goes. I'm like Mr. Abbott. I think I feel hopeful that something good will happen. So, anyone else?
John Roach, I'm at 9 Circle Drive. Most of the flooding during Sandy seemed to me that it was coming from the bay. Have you looked at anything to try and prevent that in the future?
You're correct about the flooding, John, and it's something we're looking at. We are. We don't have anything, you know, positive right now.
Well, we do have, in recent years, have passed requirements to have higher bulkheads on the bay side. And those higher bulkheads are a key component in reducing wave action, which is how they've derived this velocity or V zone. So yes, Margate was proactive actually before I think you became mayor, that you have an ordinance that the minimum height of bulkheads is what, Roger?
It's 7.5 on 29 data. It may be something we want to look at raising.
Right.
There.
If I could just say something, I don't know, maybe our team can talk about like a geographic checklist of the damage that Hurricane Sandy had to help with our argument that perhaps this map needs to be changed. And I brought this up at the meeting earlier, too. I think the financial impact is huge on all of us. And somehow, some way, I would like to project out what that number would be feasibly, so that we can use that, you know, as an argument. Maybe Andy Bednarik could help us with that, the tax assessor, maybe Lisa, all of us, we put our heads together, but maybe we can think about how we, and also this meeting that we went to today, which was engineers pretty much up and down the coast, Ed Wahlberg and Scott Abbott have volunteered to serve on this committee, which I thank them both very much. And out of that, we would like to get some talking points, which I would like to disseminate to you, all of our residents, so you can use that to talk to your state and federal legislators. I think if we're all on target with the correct factual information and we can really pound it out there, hopefully we'll get a positive outcome and won't be hit so hard financially. Hopefully.
Anyone else? We're going to have you and Tony speak as a team, Willie.
We don't speak at home. William Jacobini, 112 North Vendome. First, I'd like to say I'm behind you guys. You're doing a great job with all this. You have your hands on with this. I have two questions, and maybe it's a gripe. I didn't have a drop of water, thankfully. If my house is 2 inches below this level, am I obligated to elevate it? Number one. Number two.
The answer is no.
Huh?
The answer is no.
But if I go to sell it, that person would have to elevate it.
No.
They would
just
pay a
have to
higher
pay a
insurance.
higher rate.
Higher
Okay.
insurance premium.
No, that brings me to my second point. Why pay a higher rate? It's like if you get in a car accident, my auto insurance shouldn't go up. I mean, I understand this is a problem, and I like that thought of the deductible should be a little higher.
I'm 100% with that, but what this act is, went to do is they want to establish the flood insurance program as a self-sufficient program. They want to eliminate all federal subsidies from the program. Previously, every disaster, they have to borrow money, or I don't know, I don't know where they're coming up with the rates yet, because they don't even have the maps done. But they are projecting ridiculous rates. But that's the whole purpose of this, was to let everyone pay what their actual risk is. And the risk is derived through, actuarial tables and things beyond me. But that's why they're raising it. It isn't so much that they're arbitrarily doing it, they're just saying this is what you should be paying. Now, while that may be a valid theory, you can't change the rules in the middle of the game, okay? You can't just do it blanket across, and apparently that's what they're trying to do.
All right.
I would like to know how many Giacomini households are out there that haven't had any damage, because if we can, if we can document that's what I was saying, how we could have like a geographic inventory somehow, some way of damage that's been done.
But see, part of that is if I go to sell my house, would the new buyer, would their flood insurance skyrocket?
Their flood insurance will go to the actual exposure rate, whatever that is. And I talked to my insurance agent, and I said, just do an arbitrary. They can't get it. He can't even get information from the insurance companies right now, because they don't know what they're doing yet.
Because we looked on these maps, and there's people in this A zone that took water on, and there's people that didn't. There's people in this V zone, I guess that's the worst zone, that didn't take water. I mean, the maps are absurd, I think.
Well, we won't argue that.
No, I'm not,
Yeah,
believe me,
I agree.
I'm just venting a little bit because I'm not going to pay it, but that's neither here nor there. I don't have to, but it's just not fair.
So Willie, just to get a clear handle on this, what is the elevation of your home, if you know?
I think we're like 2 inches below whatever the,
I mean, you must be high, you're right across from Union
right.
Avenue School.
Yeah, I mean, we done,
So your flood insurance, or whoever buys your home, your flood insurance is not going to be
won't be
as
significant.
devastating as, say, a V zone.
okay.
You're not V zone.
No, not at all.
If you were V zone, you'd have had water in your house.
Right. I had
You didn't.
nothing. I didn't even come on the curb.
So you're actually, in comparison to many, you're in pretty good shape.
Right. Well, it's like, schoolyard here. I mean, it didn't take, where all the cars were saved.
That's right.
No, I'm just venting, and it's not that you, I mean, you guys have been on top of it. It just doesn't seem fair for people to they're elevating houses now. They don't know how high to go, and it just, and as my wife said, one of the few times I'll agree with her that, we have to, whatever it takes, phone calls to get people to petition, whatever we have to do to our legislators, I think we should.
Agreed.
Okay. Having said that, thank you.
Thank you, Willie. Anyone else? Last chance.
My name is Stanley Waldman. I live at 7400 Bayshore Drive. My question has to do with risk factor. Risk factor is also time sensitive. I was here in 1944. I saw the Great Hurricane. I was here in '62. I saw the March storm. Now I'm here this year. And the question is, I've seen 3 events in over 70 years. Is FEMA looking at the numbers of times that these events take place? And if not, why not?
I know the answer to that. Of course they are. They are running computer models, and they are constantly feeding data in. It's kind of, as explained to me, they have very substantial computerized programs. And when we met with some of the fellows who made up these maps, they truly are computer geeks. They don't even go to the beach, but they run these programs, they input data. Much of it is based on previous claims, previous elevations of storms. Thousands of factors go into these computer projections and these actuarial tables, which ultimately establish the risk factor of a particular property at a particular location at a particular elevation. It's on one hand extremely complicated, but on the other hand, it's not that complicated. It's kind of like how Vegas does their computers to bet which team's going to win the World Series or the Super Bowl. They factor all these in, and they come up with these rates to try to make their flood insurance program self-sufficient. That's the key here. The federal government doesn't want to put money into the flood insurance program. Up until July, the law of the land was they did subsidize flood insurance. Now, under this new federal law, because the government's broke, self-sufficiency is the answer.
Okay, but states have acted on their own. Example, North Carolina, the barrier islands. They get hit repeatedly and to a point where if you got decimated after numbers of times, you were prohibited from rebuilding. They just said we cannot afford it. Is that an option for the state of New Jersey?
I'm a barrier island guy in Nag's Head and whatnot. Look at the houses. They're all high up on piling.
Right.
You know, that hydrostatic pressure on the walls is eliminated when you have the piling up high. So they're not collapsing those homes. So, yes, that's what they want. On Long Beach Island, that's what you're going to see. Right. Just like the Outer Bank in North Carolina. Here we're a little bit different because of seawalls and bulkheads.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley.
Hi, Lance Seaton, 12 South Jefferson. So regarding the ordinance, you're talking about raising the bottom floor a foot, right? Or whatever it is to stay within what we think might be compliance. My only question is, are we squeezing the house or is the elevation going up? That's the whole point? Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
Elevation will go up.
Okay. And then regarding some comments you had made, I'm at 9-1. That's what my flood cert says. My first floor is. No water came in. I'm at 12 South Jefferson. You could have swam around the house and swam down to the bay and swam back to the ocean, but not a drop of water came in the house. And that was at 9-1. And they're talking about, what, 12 foot, 14 foot?
I wish it was that easy.
16 foot? But no water came in. The house was built in 1953. We're probably taking it down.
Just to confuse us, they changed the whole method of what they call 1988 datum. So if you're a 9-1 under 1929 datum, subtract 1.3, which means you are 7/8.
From 7/8 and no water
Something's
came in.
wrong because the water was well above 7/8.
What was it? It was actually, Scott, on the map, it was 7/7 in 88 datum. It was 9 in 29 datum.
More an inch. I mean, you could see the water line. Drive by
But you
the White
had
House with
underneath
the pink
wet, your
shirt.
insulation. You're telling us
Insulation got wet and dropped.
Oh, okay. Well, see,
Rafters got wet up to about this far from the tongue.
Do you know
and
what your
groove.
new base flood elevation is? Would he be in the V zone or the A zone?
most likely he's in the V zone.
See, so that's how it's off. You're in the V zone, you had no damage whatsoever.
Yeah, well, so.
Thank you. Yes, okay.
I'm sorry to get up a second time. I guess it's not against the rules. One question was, what you're saying is I had 12 inches from the water line to my floor. I had 12 inches. I got no water in my house. I live on the same block as this gentleman, and I'm in the V zone. The fact that I got no water in my house would not be taken into consideration on flood?
Well, it may be taken into consideration when they calculate the risk for your flood insurance.
Right.
They have to look at just about every situation, but if you wanted to rebuild, you would have to build it in accordance with the V-zone regulations. That's
Yeah,
what it
I'm more concerned about, I don't want to see my flood insurance go astronomical. But like I said, I got under my crawl space. I measured from the water line to my floor. My rafters didn't get hit. No, I had 12 inches before it would have hit the floor. So, I mean, this is the highest storm surge we've had in 50 years, and I still had 12 inches before I would have got water in my house. I mean, I'm just hoping that would be, I know, I'm just saying, would that be taken into consideration on my rate?
Not that so much, just what they will take into consideration is whatever your elevation is relative to the new elevation.
Really?
The further you're down, the higher your rate.
Yeah. So the fact that I didn't get any water on this storm is not going to matter a whole lot.
Well, the fact that, did you have a claim?
No.
Okay, that's another issue that they said will come into the calculation is who had claims, who didn't have claims. It's an exposure issue.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting any money. I didn't have any real damage to get any money from FEMA. I mean, the worst thing happened to me was my lawn got destroyed.
You're the poster child for why we want the V-zone designation reduced.
Right.
That's why we have a committee with engineers trying to influence the FEMA people that the V-zone, which means wave action, which means 3-foot high waves, doesn't apply to the lower end of Margate. Our city is, what, about 20%, 25% V-zone?
Yeah, because I stayed for the storm, and we watched the water came from the bay. It came from Ventnor Avenue down. We watched it go up. We watched it go out. We seen waves crashing on the bulkhead at Jefferson, but nothing came over.
And that's our point. Those waves' energy dissipated on the bulkhead.
Absolutely.
It didn't run down and hit your house and
No.
knock it off its foundation.
And maybe I should have videotaped it, but it looked like the tide coming up.
We might have needed that videotape. That might be
Yeah,
helpful.
well, I'm just saying. Okay, well, I'm not more concerned with the rate. With what's going on with raising my house. My concern is I can't afford $20,000 in flood insurance, and that's, so, okay, thanks.
Mr. O'Neill, just to confuse it even more, I got my flood bill for this year. I was expecting an increase. My flood bill, which came, I think, 2 weeks ago, is exactly the same as last year. And I don't understand it. This whole picture is very confusing. All I can tell all of you is we're working as hard as we possibly can to do what we can to, help each other, help you people, and we will continue to do that.
Well, I got my flood.
so
Mine went up $150. I was $1,400, and I wrote the check and mailed it in right away because I wasn't complaining about it.
That was the fastest check I ever wrote.
And I can deal with $100, $150 a year. It's not a problem. 25%, 4 years, they can double it. Eventually you're going to be unaffordable. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
No, not you, them. Ed, and maybe it's I think it's technical, and I'm a layperson, so you have to bear with me. Areas where there's V-zones, where a home may be older areas of Margate, maybe where zoning was not in place 30, 40, 50 years ago. If a house was built and say the front steps go out to right to the, in a lot of cases, out to the right-of-way, and if it has to be raised, say, 3 feet, and it has 4 or 5 steps, or 3 or 4 steps, wouldn't it be necessary for that house now to if you have to raise it, to require more steps to go out and possibly have the steps go into the right-of-way or something, or?
It very well may, or you may have to do
Go to the side.
Yeah, and we have that in here.
That's in this.
But you may have to, the steps may have to be configured for example, like a T. Instead of coming straight out, come out and
But there could be other things, not just steps. You could have setbacks like on the side, where the house, if you raise it, there's porches and other ancillary things that could have to be, that's going to be a problem.
It is. It is a problem.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes, you're right.
I think the ordinance pretty much covers.
Okay.
We're trying to cover.
Extending steps in different directions, different step formats. it covers the fact that perhaps landscaping might have to be reduced, and it allows that, and it also establishes a committee that, where you don't have to go to the planning board for variances for certain other circumstances.
Okay.
So it intended to cover all of that,
Thank you.
and we'll see.
I didn't know if that was a silly question I asked or not.
Question.
Okay.
Right on point.
Just another question. At your meetings, have you heard anything, when we're talking about the value of our homes declining or whatever, about our homeowners' insurance rates going up significantly being on a barrier island?
Yes.
We should, I mean, I would think we should expect
One of the factors that's been
that.
brought up is these increased elevations. There is a wind load factor, and it is possible that part of the benefit of raising these homes is lost because possibly additional wind pressure on a storm on a higher structure, requiring different types of construction. Well, it's already required now for hurricane fastening, that they have to be bolted down, and there's requirements there. But, yeah, I mean,
So if you go to
definitely your
sell your
homeowners,
home and
we're
you
in
don't have it
agreement.
raised, then,
You are aware that many of the normal homeowner policies are not available. A lot of them want to avoid the New Jersey coast, oil coast. I had Ohio Casualty for years, for instance. From I understand, they won't rewrite in New Jersey. They'll keep you if you haven't made a claim. Once
Right.
you make a claim, you're done. But they aren't issuing new policies. So absolutely, we're going to be affected.
okay. And one comment that Christie made when he came out with this about the requirements or whatever that he was trying to institute, was that we didn't want dunes in Margate and Longport because we were afraid it was going to ruin our view, whereas Ventnor and Atlantic City had dunes, so the wealthy people didn't want. Well, that wasn't so factual. We significantly researched the dunes, if you remember 2 years ago, whenever it was, and it was the fact that the Army Corps of Engineers, if it should come up at any of your meetings, the Army Corps of Engineers couldn't give us any price of what it was going to be to maintain those dunes after 5 years. And that was also one reason Margate didn't go along with it, I believe, if anyone, remembers. Is that correct or incorrect? Am I incorrect?
That is correct.
So, he was kind of slapping us around a little bit there, but it wasn't just, people didn't want their views ruined.
I think many people's views of dunes have changed after Hurricane Sandy. I know mine have. I'm more positive about having them to protect the beach and the barrier island.
I agree.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Talby?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the amended ordinance.
I will second that.
And with the amendment that was previously explained by Mr. Abbott regarding the finished floor elevation, correct?
That is the amended ordinance, yes.
Okay.
With the Peter Weiss amendment.
The, Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Talby?
Yes.
There being no other business, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
Second that motion.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Talby?
Yes.
And we thank you all for coming here. If you have any questions